Welcome to your first video over fantastic phrases and root words. You need to have your interactive notebook. When you open your interactive notebook, we're going to start with fantastic phrases. So you need to find your sheet that says fantastic phrases, list 1 at the very top, and follow along with me as I go through each one of them. And then when we get to the Greek root words, I'll remind you where to write them and what to write them down. So let's start with fantastic phrases. Remember, fantastic phrases are Latin phrases and some French phrases that we use in our English language. So this is going to answer those learning targets of how Latin and Greek and French and all different languages have influenced the English language. This is going to be compare and contrast, so we're going to see how we use Latin phrases in our world today. So our first fantastic phrases. The first one is etc. It means and others and the rest and so on. This phrase is usually abbreviated ETC period. It's usually italicized when it's written in a sentence. So you're not going to typically see this written in a sentence full like this. You're going to see it ETC right here. Be careful not to write or say and etc. Let's look at the examples over here. We were admitted into the movies free if we brought school supplies such as crayons, markers, paper, etc. So we see there's not an and etc. there. It's just an ongoing list. So this means they could have brought more things that were similar to this, so the list is ongoing. Students should not pack liquids on their carry-ons such as shampoo, water, makeup remover, etc. Again, another ongoing list. So etc. means a list that's ongoing. It could probably never stop, or there's no point in to continue to write because all of them are similar. Another example, so this is how we would write it. They ate cookies, cakes, peanuts, fairy floss, etc. So again, there's no and we see it written in its abbreviated form. Second one, ad nauseum, to the point of nausea. So this word is not used like you're going to throw up. It means I am so bored I could be sick, is essentially what it means. Let's look at the examples. I like hanging out with Uncle Bart, but when he goes on and on ad nauseum about model trains, he drives me nuts. So this sentence is saying the person loves to hang out with his uncle, but he makes him sick because he goes on and on about trains. No doubt we will hear about this ad nauseum in the press tomorrow. So something could happen. We see this all the time in our press. They just go on and on and on and on and on and never stop. And so it makes you just to the point of nausea. Ms. Gallo talks ad nauseum about critical thinking and problem solving skills. So this, again, I just talk on and on and on about it that you just kind of are like, come on, Ms. Gallo, let's move on. We get it. You can see too that it can be in the middle of a sentence. It can be towards the end of a sentence. It can have up here where it says when he goes on and on about ad nauseum. The other one is you're just going to hear about it ad nauseum. So you can add words before it, or you can keep it alone just like that. So you see it a little bit of a different way in both of those sentences. E pluribus unum, out of many one. This is a phrase that you're going to see on the Great Seal of the United States or on our currency. It is a Latin phrase that the Founding Fathers took. So out of many colonies or states, we created one nation. So out of many one. You will never use this in a sentence. It stays this phrase. That's what's very confusing. You would never say, E pluribus unum cookie, the cookie cake was the greatest. Not out of many one cookies were great. It just stays the phrase. So when you see this in a sentence, you're going to see it as a phrase still. So the sentence may say you can find the phrase E pluribus unum on the dollar bill. Or you can use it, she began her sentence E pluribus unum. It was written on every dollar bill. But do you know or care what the meaning of this famous phrase? So you're never going to take this out of its meaning. You're always going to see it as its phrase. We'll go over that again on Wednesday and Thursday just to make sure we have that one. Déjà vu, already seen. This describes an experience or a feeling that one has witnessed or experienced a new situation previously. When Dan walked into the mall and saw Caroline sitting on the bench, he experienced a brief moment of déjà vu, though he couldn't remember if they had ever met. So have you ever had that feeling where you're like, man, I feel like I've been sitting here before. I feel like I've heard this said before. I feel like I know that person or I've met that person, but you really haven't? That's déjà vu. So it's a feeling that you've already been, or you're already experiencing what you did experience. The second example, I had a weird feeling of deja vu when I entered the house. So it's that feeling that you've already experienced something, although you haven't yet. Those are your fantastic phrases. So now we're going to move into your root words. You need to flip your page one direction or the other depending on where you glued in your roots. It's that flipper page. So you're going to flip over the first one and you're going to write in what it means and then the actual example. So root words, we get a lot of English words from root words. When we create words, we derive them. So a lot of our English words have been derived from Greek or Latin root words. And so we're going to look at what a derivative is. So astron or astro means star or constellation. And we see these show up within our English words everywhere. So we have astrology, astronaut. So astronaut is made up of two root words right here. Naut means sailor. Astro or astron means stars or constellations. So we can see that astronaut means a person who is training to travel in a spacecraft. So we can see that it's almost, an astronaut is a space sailor. That's what that essentially means. Asterisk, it's that little star that shows up. And disaster is also a root word of astron. It comes from this traditional belief that the positions of the stars and planets can help, can directly influence human beings. So dis is a root word. It means not, and then stars. So basically the stars are not in your favor, and so a disaster happens. So we see multiple root words within one word. Second one, bios means life. You can have biography, an account of one's life written by someone else. We see bio, which means life, and we see graph, which means to write. So to write about a life. Biology. Biology is the study of life, essentially. So you see bio, life. Ology is also another root word we're going to get to later on, and it means study. It has a couple of different meanings, but in this sense, it means study. So study of life. Autobiography, the whole word is actually a compound of root words to make one. An autobiography is an account of a person's life written by that person. Auto means self, automobile, self-moving. Bio is life. Graph is to write. So to write about one's life. Chronos is time. Our examples are chronological. Chronological is starting with the earliest and following the order in which they occurred. So if we're going to put some events in chronological order, we would start with the first event and then put the events as they happened in order. Chronos means time. So here's that root word right here. Logos, which we just talked about in the last slide, means study or reason. So the reason of time. And ik is of or pertaining to, having some characteristics or the nature of. So that would be right back here. You're going to see that in a lot of words we go over. So it's just the logical time something happened. So we're putting it in order. Geo means earth, geology, geometry, geography. Geology, the science that deals with the Earth's physical structure, its history, and the processes that act on it. Geo, this right here, Earth. Logos, right here, L-O-G, logos means study, so study of the Earth. Geometry is an interesting one to me. So it's mathematics which measure the features of the Earth. Geo, Earth. Meter is another root word we'll get to later, right in here. It means to measure. So measuring of the Earth. This was taken from a Greek mathematician who decided that he needed a way to measure his planet, so he created geometry. We're going to actually, towards the end or closer to Christmas, we're going to go over those different scientists and mathematicians from Greece that gave us a lot of our different fields of study. Jaya this is actually, I threw this in here because it is a derivative. It's kind of a tricky derivative, but the Greeks came up with a myth that we're going to learn about in a couple weeks of the origin of the earth. And this right here is Mother Earth. She's the original Mother Earth in the Greek mythology world. And so this word is a derivative off of Geo, which is earth. So she is Mother Earth. And I thought that was pretty interesting. Hydros means water. Dehydration, the loss or removal of water from something. D, right here at the very, very front. This, it means to off or from. So it actually has two opposite meanings. Hydros, water, right here. So out of water, off of water. Hydrangea is a flower. It's a big, huge flower. It requires a lot of water. And when I got into studying this word, I was really fascinated by it. It's one of my favorite flowers. So it was fascinating on how it got its name, actually. So hydros means water, right here, hydros. Angia, right here, angio. In Latin, it means vessel or jar or vase. So it's a flower that probably got its name because it has a cup-shaped fruit, that those petals are kind of cup-shaped. And so it probably got its name from it looking like a jar or a vase. I also read a couple of different places that said it got its name because it requires so much water that you would need to be, it needed so much water. So it had a root word of hydros. In the Greek, it means vessel of the body covered or enclosed by a seed or blood vessel. So again, there's that flower covered or enclosed by a seed. That could be applying there. Hydraulics and hydroelectricity. Hydro is water. We can see here hydroelectricity, so it just has to do with water powering turbines and creating energy from that. Logos, our last one. We've already talked about this one a whole lot. It has a couple of meanings. We're going to go with word and study. It also means reason. Go ahead and add that in there. It also means reason. Logic, apology, epilogue. An epilogue is a section or speech, a section of a speech, typo, at the end of a book or play that serves as a comment on or a conclusion to what has happened. So it's at the end of the book, and it just furthers the story a little bit so it has a conclusion. I thought this one was really interesting. Epi means upon or in addition, and then logos can also mean speech, speak, words. And so this is just an addition to the speech, the play, or the book. Thought that was interesting. Pathological, the science of the cause and effects of disease. Pathos, right here, means suffer. It means emotions. It means feelings. And then logos means study. And so we have the study of diseases there. Those are your root words. Want to make sure that you have followed the instructions or at least written something down that will help you study. You can also come back to this video. Remember, so your flipper says logos on it. Under your flipper, write words, study. You can write reason. You can write speech as well. And then write down these examples. If you don't want to write down the definitions, that's okay. I wanted to be overly thorough with this PowerPoint so that you could somewhat understand what a derivative is. And I wanted you to be able to see the Latin words are so ingrained into our language that they're in just about every word that we speak. There's a Latin or a Greek root to it. If you are confused or lost, write this stuff down. Make sure you have good notes. And we're going to go over this on Wednesday. Remember, we have an activity on Wednesday and Thursday. My A and B day, Wednesday and Thursday, and then on Friday and Monday, we have quizzes over it. So make sure you take your notes over this video. If you need to watch it again, watch it again. I apologize for the typos. They will always show up. It doesn't matter how many times I proof these things. I always find something when I'm on here. I apologize for the noise. They are drilling into the wall next to me. So I apologize for that.